So we have Ignite. It's our new agent training program.
Okay.
This is the last of this series.
Mhm.
And so she's not yet with this office.
Oh, okay. She said she just got licensed.
Yes. But Josh isn't ready yet, so I figured why not come here?
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
fine. Is it just Solinik? Is it?
I don't know who that is, to be honest.
Interesting.
Hi guys, it's Cheryl.
Was it just me then, or we just videotaped this one person?
Hi Serena.
Hi.
Hi John.
Hello?
It's just me.
It seems like it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. You're not in the office, are you?
No, I'm home because I have a meeting after this.
Oh, got it. Okay, well,
It's your call, whatever you want to do.
I tend to say like, maybe let's just set up a time to meet and I could go through this for just you if you like.
Me too?
Yeah.
Melissa, are you okay with 20 minutes?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. What do you want me to do here?
Yeah, let's do it.
Just do it just the same?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
By the way, this is not just any instructor.
no,
This is the John Adams. Okay.
no, I'm not a big deal. So, or I guess it'll be on YouTube anyway. So the gist of it is like, today's supposed to be like about planning your future. And in Ignite, we covered all of these different topics. So spark your career, embrace your job, connect with the market, find value, generate leads, grow a database, leads from open house and social, capturing, keeping, and following up with leads, strengthening relationships, qualifying buyers and sellers, winning buyers and sellers, working with buyers and sellers, and then making, receiving offers, negotiating offers, getting to the close, and planning your future. But in short, it basically just breaks into a few categories, right? You have research, which is just like stuff that you're not learning. You're not like, research is different than education in the way that like research is simple things to understand, but you have to commit a lot of time to research your market, basically, right? It's different than education, which is like practicing details and like learning little things about the contracts or about buyers and sellers' homes and like what's happening. Education is like, should be considered like subjective. You have an opinion about these things, right? Research is not. It's just like straight, should be easy to understand, right? The home sold for $1,000 a square foot should come up in your research, right? And your education should be like, what do I do with a home that's in a flood zone, right? That you can't just look at. There's a difference between the two of them. But I wanted to kind of wrap this up because when we just run through the Ignite material, like everyone always tries to ask like how we put these different pieces together and like what, should I spend more time on my data? Should I buy leads? Should I, how big should my farm be or whatever? But when it comes to actually like closing the deal and winning business, then you need a little bit of everything. And the part that when it comes to actually like negotiating these offers and when you're dealing with the actual brokerage part, you have to understand all of it. So if someone sends you an offer and it says, the offer's below your list price, it's at $2.8 million and you're on the market for $3 million, and it has different contingencies in it, and there's a seller contingency, and there are all these other things. Hopefully you've educated yourself enough to know whether or not that's a good deal, right? But your research is also going to tell you whether or not that's acceptable, right? If everything else is selling for $1,000 a square foot, you don't need a really high level of education to know that like the $800 a foot offer is too low, right? But how you respond to it is determined by the education that you have. It's determined by the research that you see in the market, but then also mentorship, which is an important part. Right? So we have a mentorship program here, and it's run by basically Kristen and Justin, the two people that teach that will educate you for the most part. That's kind of Kristen's role. And then what to do with your data and how to generate a big database and market to that database and everything is the productivity part. So between the two of them, they really handle how you get, how much data you should have, should you knock on doors, should you make cold calls, or should you not? And once you are in front of these people, you know, how do you actually secure a listing? What do you do with the terms in the contract and all that stuff? Kristen mainly handles that. So I'm just going to kind of talk about each one of these pieces, right? But the most important thing I think is, yeah.
I lost you. The screen went black.
Oh, it did?
Yeah. Oh, you're back.
Oh, we're back. Sorry about that.
No, no worries.
So you can get data from title, you can buy leads, you can spend money, right, to end up with a really, really good database. You could take a lot of courses. You could sit in all Kristen's classes, or my classes, or anyone's classes. You could go to join webinars, you go to networking events where you can learn about all these different things that are going to matter. But what I wanted to focus on today is this part, basically, which is like spark your career, embrace your job, and connect with the market. Right? Because this piece here is like the part that you can't really teach. You have to have like an obsessive desire to learn this stuff. And so I was working with a mentee today, and we're doing cold call role play. And he was kind of like, well, yeah, we can do this, we can do that. And we kept getting to these hangups in the conversation for our role play because he didn't have as deep of an understanding of the market, right? So if you get in front of someone or you meet someone out at a bar or whatever, and they have a home and they say, yeah, it's a 4-bed, it's 3 baths, it's 1,900 square feet, it's on the 500 block of Mansfield and Highland Park, and it's 2018 construction, and you haven't done your homework, you can't have a conversation with that person. You know, like they're not gonna listen to you, and they're not gonna believe that you're gonna be able to add value to their home or property or whatever, right? So the education is one piece though. So when we put them together and you have this research and you understand what that stuff's like, the research is just gonna help you get your foot in the door. It's not gonna help you close the deal. So this piece, right, about sparking your career, embracing your job, connecting with your market, right? I honestly believe it's the part that most agents are lacking. And it's because everyone gets obsessed with this stuff. The data, how many people do you have, and more so than anything, the marketing. You know, they think that like we need better flyers, or you need to do videos, or you need Instagram following, or TikTok following, or you need a certain amount of contacts on Facebook, and you know, maybe you should hire someone for headshots and to do a new video or whatever. But the marketing to your database, right, or to your sphere is only important if those people give you a chance, right? And like, if you do all of your research, this is a big part of Keller Williams, is that you're going to get trust and you'll get mind share. So you want to be the person that when someone thinks about a real estate agent, or they have a question about real estate, or they hear that someone in their family has passed away and they don't know what to do with the property, you're going to be faced with an opportunity to potentially turn that into business. And if you haven't done your research, then you're going to lose it. On all the rest of this stuff is not going to matter. They don't feel like they can trust you, and they don't think about you, then like it doesn't matter how good your data is or how many different people you are in contact with. It doesn't matter what your marketing looks like, and you're never even going to have an opportunity to win a buyer or a seller, or make or receive offers, or strengthen your relationships or anything, right? So everyone wants to start with door knocking, which is for sure an important part of the process, but outside of the hours that you should be prospecting, right, is when you should be doing your research. And this should be done in extra time. So nights, weekends, early in the morning, time that you can't generate leads, time that you can't grow a database or hold open houses or reach out to people on social media, that's when you should really be doing this. And it's the part of the business that people don't spend a lot of time with if you don't have like investor clients or you don't have like a financial background sometimes. People hesitate to do this stuff. But down the road, even if you end up closing a bunch of deals and having a successful business, if you don't do all of your research, then you won't know what type of education that you're supposed to buy into. So one example is if you're a commercial agent and you're helping people buy and sell multifamily property or commercial property, you need to know what this looks like. And I've given the example before about cap rates and how when you first get your license, you're going to meet investors. And they're going to say, I'll buy any multifamily building up to $20 million, right? And it needs to be, and it'll be a 5 cap, right? 5 cap multifamily buildings in LA County, and particularly on the west side, just do not exist. You can't find property where you're going to get a 5% return. It's just, it doesn't exist. So if you did your research, you would know that. But then when it comes to competing with the other agents in the market and you're trying to win that buyer for yourself or win that seller for yourself, right? Or you're working with buyers and sellers, you have to back up that little bit of research with some education. So an example of something that I'm talking about is if you're going to be in multifamily, right, you have to do your research and you need to see what's sold. So you need to see sold comps, right? So if I talk to someone, they want to write an offer on something, they don't know what it's worth, the first place I'm going to start is the price that everything's sold, right? So I'm going to do all of my research, right? The second thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to look at like all of the data for this, and so that I can understand a little bit more detailed about these sold comps. That's okay. So if the comps are sold and I'm doing my research, I'll have some idea of what this stuff sells for, right? Then if I go to look at the data for these type of properties, right? Other than just the purchase price, I'm going to look at things like how many units there were. What are the rents they paid? How many parking spots? Does it have laundry? So I look at these 10 properties, I see what they've all sold for, and then I get into the data and we're looking at the weeds, like the actual numbers that generate the purchase price. Then the third step, I'm actually going to go back and review on-market marketing. So you should sign up for the e-blast and all the email marketing from all of like the top brokers and whatever it is that you're helping people buy and sell. So go ahead.
Sorry, what does that say, number 3?
Review on-market marketing.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Because the whole purpose for this and what I've been trying to like really hammer home is that you need a good story, right? And I talked about like Reservoir Dogs or whatever else, and not just like an average story or an okay story or even a good story. You want this story to be really good. It needs to be elite. So we've got sold comps data. We're going to review the on-market stuff, which is a result of marketing, right? Like how many units are out there. We're going to look at agents that are trying to do stuff off market, right? We're trying to look at their marketing because it's going to give me like a pulse for what's current, what's going on, instead of just the sold comps that we already exited out of. And then I'm gonna educate myself on talking points. So if I'm a multifamily agent, an example of something that I'm gonna educate myself on would be rent control. Learning about rent control is not researching the market, right? That's like an educational process, okay? So once I go in and look at the rent control, now I feel like I'm building this story for when I run into a multifamily client, right? I have an idea of what this recent sold stuff is. I know some of the data about rents, price per square foot, parking, laundry, what's happening, who these agents are that are selling it, who's buying it. I'm gonna look at everything that's currently available. I'm gonna educate myself on the talking points, right? Rent control is an easy one in multifamily. Another one for multifamily as an example might be retrofit or the moratorium. Because what this conversation is going to look like, if I come across someone, right, or I pull my data and I door knock and I run into someone and they say, hey, I'm not a seller for my single family home, but I am a buyer for multifamily, right? Hopefully you've done your research and you know, okay, cool. Well, if you're looking for a 5 cap, just like anybody else, I've got nothing for you, right? But I'm going to reference the sold comps a little bit to see where they're at. I'm going to talk to them about some of the data. I'm going to talk to them about the stuff that is available that's being marketed to me as an agent. And then this is really like where you're going to hit home with these people. So we talked about Measure ULA, I think last time and maybe the time before also, but the conversations that a multifamily investor wants to have with an agent are not around research. It's much more, centrally like identified by rent control, retrofit, moratoriums, when this is up, the difference between what's happening in the city, the difference between what's happening in the county, right? And you need this stuff to have a good conversation, right? Maybe you don't, maybe they're willing, they like you and they trust you right away and you've done your research on the neighborhood and they feel like, okay, like you have a good idea of what they're talking about, but you want all of your clients or anybody in your database to feel like you know more than them. And the best way to do that is to spend your time focusing on the things that they probably can't spend time focusing on. Right? So what this conversation would look like if you're doing prospecting would be something like this. Say, hey, Mr. Seller, this is John Adams from Keller Williams, Beverly Hills, right? I'm calling you about the 8 unit that you have in North Hollywood. And they're gonna say, okay, well, I'm not interested in selling. We say, okay, cool. Well, I'm actually calling because I don't know if you saw that the 10 unit on Martell just closed. It sold off market at a 4.5 cap. And they're gonna say, I didn't know that. Where on Martell? And you're gonna say 685 Martell is where it closed, right? It's an 8 unit, or it's a 10 unit building, but it's 5 2-1s and 5 1-1s. What does your unit mix look like? And they'll say, it's I've got 10 studios. And if that's all the client gives you back, if they give you back anything other than leave me alone or screw you or whatever, then now you had better have some education. Like they said, I've got 10 studios, right? And so off the top of my head, right away, I'm going to go to this. I'm going to say, are all of them current on their rents? What are your plans for the end of the moratorium? And now they're gonna think like, oh, okay, cool. This guy so far has talked to me about a property that sold off market. He knows all about it, right? And then he's about to give me some education on how rent control and the moratorium is gonna work for my property. Right? So if we do that, we give them that, all of that, right? Then what clients are trying to sort out is, does this person know what they're talking about? Right? And if they're not sure, if you don't give them enough of your research or your data, or your information, then this is where you should go, right? Into the rent control moratorium. Maybe they're super savvy and you've got nothing to teach them there, right? You can't, they know all about it, right? They've been doing this for 50 years. They own all these different properties in addition to these 10 studios, right? Then like, now what am I gonna say to this guy? So I spit this all out. I go, yeah, we got the rent control, the moratorium's ending in January. All of your units are rent controlled. Are these people paying rent? Are they on time? Maybe he says, no, three don't pay. What am I gonna say?
How late are they?
I'm gonna ask them, how long have they not been paying?
What's their balance?
What's the balance? That's a good one. Or we could say, why not?
But wouldn't you also ask how far behind they are?
Yep. There's about 10 different questions. If he says 3 of them aren't paying, there's 10 different questions that I can ask them to try and further this conversation, right? But he's only going to be willing to, or she's only going to be willing to talk to me if they think I know what I'm talking about, and I've not just proven that I know what I'm talking about, but that I'm an expert on the subject. Okay? So that's why like Ignite is good, right? Because you're gonna get like a little bit of stories and stuff like that, but what's really gonna drive this home and give this person an opportunity to give me as an agent an opportunity to secure business from this person is the quality of the story that I can tell them. So they go, yeah, the guy sounds like he knows what he's talking about. He's definitely done his research. He's caught up on all the legalese. He knows what's going on, right? He tells me that 3 of them haven't paid, right? And now that's like his big problem. And I could say, oh yeah, I sold this other multifamily building where 2 people weren't paying and we just kind of discounted it a little bit, but there's still a good market for it. Would you let me sell? Would be like a very average response, right? What kind of things would I want to tell them in this story? I'm going to say exactly what the balance was. What were the pain points for my previous client? And how did I solve the problem? So I use the word a lot of times like case studies or story or whatever, right? That's your opportunity to effectively close the person on this idea that you can work with them. But if you don't know the research, right, the whole trickle-down effect of your conversation with this person is dead. It's over, right? If you don't know wherever your market is, whatever you're selling, you're gonna be the condo person. There's this guy, Justin Mazer, that sells condos all over LA. Yeah, he like dominates Brentwood and the Wilshire corridor, makes a ton of money, right? And all his branding and everything is Justin Mazer Condos. So he shows up, he gives his credit card, and he says, I'm the condo guy. Nobody sells more condos than me. I've been selling condos in this neighborhood forever. I don't really do single family homes. I don't really do investment. I do condos, right? And so he knows this. His research is there, right? But when the client says, well, Justin, why should I hire you to sell my condo? He doesn't talk about sold comps, he doesn't talk about data and stuff like that. What he's doing is going to tell them a story that's going to solve the problem, right? That's what Justin is focused on. He does a really, really good job of it. And all of the best brokers and agents and communicators that I've come across in this industry have really, really, really good stories that solve problems for the clients, right? Why should I work with you is something that they're going to ask 5 or 6 people at a listing presentation. And if you tell a really surface level story, you're probably not going to win the business. Any questions about that? No? Okay. So I said this research piece is really, really important. Okay, and I got mad at my mentee today because he wasn't as familiar with the market as I had expected him to be, right? At every single interaction you have with a piece of property, with an agent, with a buyer, or with a seller, your job is to develop the story. So every open house you go to, be diligent about making sure that you can tell a sophisticated story, right? It'd be a lot better for you to have 10 really good, really high detail stories for every type of objection or interaction or buyer or seller or property that you're going to come up against than it would be to have 100 stories where you don't know everything that happened from start to finish. So the example that I covered today, right, with my mentee is, I've got a partner of mine who's flipping a home in Venice. So she bought a home, she's through like finishing the renovation project, and she's gonna hold it and lease it, right? And so that's a good story. If you're talking to an investor, if you're talking to someone in the neighborhood, right? If you're talking to buyers and sellers, they want to feel like their agents are investors themselves, right? So it's like you're playing the same game as they are, that you're in the market. And although this isn't my home, right? I look at that as an opportunity, and I'm not just going to try and develop one really good story about it. I'm going to try and develop as many really good stories about it as I can. Right? So here's what I mean. She purchased that home in a really hot market. And if you tell a client, oh yeah, you know, we bought the home in a hot market, it was really competitive, that's like a D- story. What likely happened in this hot market? It was like, I mean, this was, I think, November of 2021. Market was like insane on fire. Right? And so for this one property at 1031 Lake Street, I'm trying to develop as many stories that I can, so that when I come across 20 different people, I can point back to this and give them detail after detail after detail. It's going to help me tell my story, and then it's going to help solve their problem, right? So One thing about it was that it was an incredibly hot market. So what did that mean? There were 8 offers. I think 3 were from developers and 5 were from owner users. And then my story's got a little bit more details than the market was hot.
How
Right?
would you know the offers?
So, I mean, the only way to know the offers is to get them from the agent. But that's like a great question, because when people first get started in real estate, or even when they've been in real estate for a while, they say like, well, I don't know what I don't know. I didn't know that I was supposed to know that. It's a super common thing that comes up. Well, I didn't know I was supposed to know that, you know? But if you're obsessed with your market and you're obsessed with every opportunity, then you'll do the deep dive to get down in there. So I said, well, okay, how many offers do you have? How many are from developers? Who are we competing with? Are they owner users? What's up with their financing? And that agent very easily could have just been like, no, not interested. Like, submit your offer and put your offer forward. But I said, look, we're a good blend of the 2 of these, right? He told us it's important to the sellers that the home not be torn down. It was the parents, they inherited it from a trust. They didn't want it torn down, right? So we ended up being like a good mix of, we've got some terms that developers have, like we didn't have the financing appraisal contingency, but ultimately the client and my partner wanted to buy the home, renovate it, and then live in it and rent out the different rooms.
So not tear it down.
Not tear it down, but renovate it. And that's ultimately why we got, at least that's what the agent said, that's why we got the home. So now I know, okay, next time I'm working with a developer, if we're trying to purchase a property and it's a trustee sale, it may be important to the sellers that we don't look like we're just gonna come in there and bulldoze it.
Can someone sell contingent on you not?
No. After you close, it's yours. You can do whatever you want. But people try to put that stuff in there all the time. If you purchase it, you're not going to relocate the tenant.
Right.
Like once escrow's over, it's over. But people will still try to put personal things in there, right? And so how are you going to know whether or not that flies? Like you just asked me now, but what if I'm not standing there? You've got to do this part, And so when I see even successful agents doing poor work, it's because they're just shooting things back and forth. They're just door knocking and hoping that if they knock 1,000 doors, they'll stumble into someone who's thought about selling at breakfast, Like that's when I see bad work and I see the real way to tell is when and I've dealt with a lot of agents, is when their business goes like this. It means they don't do good work. It doesn't. It means that like what made them successful was the market and not their outreach or the story that they're telling or their process. People, I had a hot year last year, the market was on fire, and this year you don't. There's still people buying homes. There's still people selling homes. There's still investors buying land. There's still investors buying multifamily building. If your trajectory is not going like this in your first 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years in real estate, I think you're putting out bad work. Not just that the market went up and down. I've got friends making twice as much money this year as they made last year. And I think it's because they do really good work. And that when times get tough, you get much more discerning about who you give your business to. If it's going to be hard to sell your home, you're going to be a lot more picky about who they let sell it. And I think the people that have done their homework, that have spent the time developing relationships with them and have a really, really, really good story to tell, then those are the people that win their trust and win the business. So like, I should say like with a grain of salt, there are lots of agents that will probably make less this year than they made last year, but the people that just have up and down, like huge swings in their business. I think it's just a measure of chance that they were getting big deals or little deals or more deals and not deals, you know? When agents get to a point where they start closing a bunch of transactions and they can pay all their bills and everything's looking good, they get away from this stuff. They stop educating themselves, they stop doing their research, and then an escrow falls apart because they didn't know about Santa Monica's rent control compared to LA City rent control. The things that kill deals when properties don't close and agents lose opportunity, I think it's because they're not doing their research, they don't know their data. And moreover, they either did not spend the time educating themselves or they didn't get really good mentorship.
Oh, lost you again. Got you. Thank you.
So, and remember, that's my own personal opinion, but I think if you focus on all of these different things in Ignite and you can whittle them down to a few of these, anyone can do the research. You don't need a tremendous amount of, you don't need a financial background or an MBA in real estate development or anything like that to do your homework. You just really don't. To get the data and to get good data just is really just a measure of time. How many phone numbers do you have in your database for property owners? Like, you could sit in front of your computer for 1,000 hours of anybody and end up with a big, robust database of people, right? So are you doing your homework? But then this is like the piece that I wanted to kind of focus on a little bit, because the education is, and the research, I'll say, together is what separates you from someone who's not a real estate agent. And so, like, how much work are you willing to do to elevate yourself up above the general public, right? So if I sold a home a couple of years ago for a real estate attorney who knows many things about real estate way more than I do, right? But he doesn't have the time. He makes probably $1,500 an hour to sit down and really dig through the comps and look at all the data and walk through and look at all the properties that are sold. That client's expectation for how much work I'm willing to put in on the front end for him is like way up here. And that's why I think, like, if you focus on being able to tell a really good story that solves the person's problem, like, what different opportunities do you have? How many tools in your toolbox do you have? What experiences can you attach to your conversation with this person that's going to help them fix it, right? So someone wants to sell and they need a lease back and they need something weird and you've never done a lease back before, not your fault, right? If you go to sell a property for a client and you don't know how a lease back works, it's all on you. So if Kristen says lease back, right? You need to figure out how that works. You need to look at the foreman card. You need to educate yourself, and you need to spend the time doing that so that when it comes up again, or when you run into somebody, you have a story to tell. So at every open house you go to, if they say, hey, the seller's gonna need a lease back, make it your business to learn the whole story so that even if it's not your seller and their lease back, that you can tell the story well enough that your client is going to trust that you can handle it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, I would say, like, the best thing that you could do would be to take a single property that you sold or bought, or an open house that you went to, and go from work on it from A to Z, go all the way through the whole ins and outs. When was the last time the home sold? When the clients bought it? Where did they move to? What happened? How many offers were there? Was it busy open house? So that when you come up against someone or you find someone in your database, that you have a story to tell. So how many different stories can we get from 1031 Lake Street? One, we got a story about how hot the market was. All right, so if someone says, what do you think? What do you think about interest rates and is now a good time to buy? I'm gonna say, it is a good time to buy. It's a better time to buy. You're not gonna have as competitive terms as last year when my client bought 1031 Lake Street. If someone says, should I renovate my home? Or, oh, you're in real estate. I'm thinking about redoing my kitchen. How much is that going to cost? I'm going to say, well, at 1031 Lake Street, we spent $28,000 on the kitchen. That's a nice little thing to say, but like, can you take this a step further? What kind of renovations can we make in the kitchen?
Appliances, tile, cabinetry, lighting. Ooh, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Yeah, so we got appliances, tile, cabinetry,
Lighting.
lighting. Okay, we're gonna stop at 4. But what's a reasonable follow-up question? If I say, well, actually, I've got a client who purchased a home in Venice, right? We bought this home and she spent $28,000 in the kitchen. That's an okay story. And now I know a little bit about it. We said they could have spent it on appliances, right? What are the most popular types of appliances? How did this $28,000 get split up?
Hmm.
So maybe we spent $10K on appliances and we spent $6,000 on tile, yeah. And we spent, we're at 16 here. We spent another $4,000 on cabinetry and $1,000 on lighting, right? So now here we are at 5, 11, 21. and we
You're
spent
missing some.
What's that?
You could add more.
Yeah, we're gonna go way in. But let's just say the labor was 7,000.
Hmm.
Now we're at our 28,000, right? It's an okay story to say, yeah, we bought it in a hard market and we're renovating it. And they say, how much? They say 28,000. And they say, oh, what 28,000? I thought it'd be more like 15,000. You say, well, no, 15,000 just covers the appliances and the associated labor. Now they think this person does a lot of this. Maybe I've never renovated a home or I've never flipped it and never understood it before, but the trust that I'm developing it every time we go one layer deeper into this story, make it seem better and better and better and better, right? So they go, well, how much is it going to be worth afterwards? If you haven't done your research, then you don't know. So if we've got a 1,700 square foot, 3-bed, 2.5 bath, and at the end of the renovation, it's 2,100 square foot, 3-bed, 3 full bath, and we've done a major renovation. How long did it take? Who did the renovation? What were the holdups, right? And in this home, all of this stuff ended up being a little bit more expensive than we thought. But how much more expensive was it? And we were waiting on the city for permits.
Mhm.
You can go, oh, client, that sucks. I know the city takes a while. Or you can say, which permits are taking longer right now? And they say, oh, it's everything for electrical is really far behind. It is. They are behind. So inspectors for electrical are behind schedule. And I think it's because at the end of COVID, when the market went like this, everyone decided they're going to renovate their home. They're going to do expansions or additions. They're going to convert the garage. They're going to do all this stuff, right? All the people that, all that inventory that closed last year when the market was crazy, all those people are now making changes to the home. And so I think that's what's holding this all up. And that's why there's this delay. So if someone says, should I renovate my home or not? you might not need to know exactly how long permits are taking for electrical. But I promise that if you get that deep into the details, then they're gonna feel like they can trust you. And people will ask you questions like, can I hire you to renovate my home? Or is this something that you can do for me? Will you oversee this whole process? And you're gonna feel like, I'm not prepared for this. I haven't done enough research, right? And the only way that you'll know how much you need to learn about these properties or these opportunities is when you feel like you already know everything. And that's the barrier between time, and why I said, like, when people go to do really good work, right? It takes a lot of effort to figure that out. But it is a leap of faith, because if you get all the way into the weeds, which I have on this 1031 Lake Street property, then now anytime anyone else in my database asks me questions about pulling permits for electrical, or what appliances are gonna cost, or how much it is to redo the floor, clients will ask you all the time when you're walking through with buyers, how much does it cost to redo the floor? And I hear agents all the time go, oh, I'll look into it. Instead of saying, well, if you go vinyl, it's gonna be $7.50 a square foot, probably another $3 a square foot to install it. We have 2,000 square feet. So now we're looking at 15 grand plus installation, maybe like 21, 22,000. You're not gonna lose that buyer. You know what I mean? So it's like, as you go out in the world, right, and are trying to do real estate transactions, this piece about the research, right, is the part that separates, I think, agents that close a lot of their business and a lot of their deals, and agents that struggle to keep their pipeline going. Right? If every single person I talk to thinks that I've done more research and I'm better educated and I have more experiences, right, than the other people that they talk to, then they're gonna feel comfortable giving me the business. All right. But you don't know what you don't know. And when I hear someone say, like, I didn't know I was supposed to know that, or I didn't know that I was supposed to study that or look at that, it's very challenging. It's very difficult for me to understand, because they're correct. You won't know what you're supposed to research and what you're supposed to ask questions about and what you're supposed to look up online. But the answers that you're supposed to look up, all of it, it's as much of it as you can. Because someday down the line, someone is going to ask you a question about appliances or tile or cabinetry lighting or renovation or something. And if you're ready and you're prepared and you have a good story to tell, like I can tell about 1031 Lake Street and why we decided to do an expansion on the home. I learned throughout this process that the permitting for an addition, if the addition's under 500 square feet, is like twice as fast. So every time after that, when I'm walking around with buyers and they talk about adding on to the home potentially, I'll say, we have to keep it under 500 square feet, because the permitting process with the city and the county for an addition under 500 square feet is a lot cheaper and a lot faster.
John, can I ask a quick question?
You sure can.
Okay, thank you. So originally you were at 1031 Lake Street, you did a renovation, because originally it was a 3-bed, 1-bath.
It was a 3-bed, 2.5 bath, and we turned it into a 3-bed, 3 full bath.
And this is in Venice?
Yep. It's at 1031 Lake Street.
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
I was curious.
What's
but
the
it
sale
did-
price?
Well, it says it's sold off market for 1.485, October 5th, 2021.
Okay, good. 1.485.
Yes,
You have your computer in front of you?
on my iPhone, and I'm on the iPad.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Sorry.
no, that's okay. What I want you to do then is go back and look at the pictures of that property as best as you can,
I am now.
okay? And then I'm gonna tell everybody to look at this also, because you don't know what you don't know. how are you supposed to know what's going on in this home if you don't see it on the MLS?
Well, yeah, I didn't go into the MLS because it
Okay.
would have taken a little longer, sorry.
No, that's okay, and the MLS.
Oh, I am on the MLS, never
Okay.
mind.
Okay, but the MLS isn't gonna show what's happening now,
Right.
right? So
Oh.
how can
Has it-
you, go ahead,
Has a nice backyard,
had a nice backyard.
had,
So we extended it in the backyard a little bit. What I want you all to do for 1031 Lake Street is go to LADBS.
okay,
This is the Los Angeles Department of Building and Safety. And in here, we're gonna find out what's going on at 1031 Lake Street.
LADBS. Okay,
You're gonna hover over and click on services, and then you're gonna go down to inspection status on the left.
I don't. Okay. It's a little slow.
That's
Also,
okay.
you said city services,
Yep, you're gonna hover over services,
okay,
and then you're gonna go down to check inspection status.
okay, and on. Sorry, I didn't mean to open a can of worms.
No, I was going here anyways,
Okay,
and this is like a really good example. So once you go to LADBS, we're gonna go over its services and click check inspection status.
check.
So we're gonna click on 1031 East Lake. Are you there?
1031,
Yeah, so type in 1031 right there, into the street name, or into the number, and on the next one, you're gonna type Lake. And click search.
keeps asking me to log in.
Click on East Lake. And once you click on that, you're gonna see a little drop-down menu, and you can click on the permit information for this property. Yeah, okay. So did you get to that screen? Okay, cool. So now we know everything that's going on with this property. Right? Before this is public knowledge, but agents in that area don't know what's happening to that house. So if you're working with buyers and you go to a property and you're submitting an offer and it's in the city of LA, you should look at the permit history. You should see the status for your clients, right? And we can see everything that's going on here. So we did an addition, an interior remodel. What else is on there? They added a steel plate, anchor bolts, cripple, and plywood for LA City plan. No foundation replacement. What does that mean?
That they kept the original foundation for tax purposes, maybe?
Not for tax purposes, right? But they added anchor bolts and cripple wall plywood, which is earthquake retrofit
Wrong
for that
state.
home, to get
Yeah.
that home ready for it. So if you're working with buyers and they plan on doing a renovation, you need to look at the foundation inspection in the report. So you could tell them, hey, this is, if we pull new permits, right, you're gonna have to do earthquake retrofitting in the foundation. If you don't know what earthquake retrofitting in the foundation is, figure it out. You gotta educate yourself, right?
In New Jersey, it's for tax purposes. Sorry.
That's okay. They upgraded the electrical panel in 2009. We upgraded again in 2022. And that's how we can see what's going on. But if you go way into Lake Street, you should be ready to talk to your clients for any of their homes about earthquake retrofit, pulling permits, how long the renovation is going to take, what the appliances look like, right? And then when this property comes back out to market, go as an available rental, go see it. See what you think the home is worth now. Estimate as best as you can what the cost of those improvements were. And if she were to sell it again, how much money would they make? Well, we don't know. Get the net sheet from escrow. Say, hey, escrow, hey, Pele, if we sold this for 2.35, you know, how much would this investor be left with? If someone bought it as a rental investment, what does that look like? What are the rents in the area? What do I think about this home in comparison to other homes in the area? It sounds like it's too much to work to do for this one property that you're not associated with, that you didn't help someone buy or sell. But if you go all the way down there, I swear you're gonna get such better stories than, yeah, it was a hot market, we did oh, that's a renovation job over there.
Now it's saying this estimate is 1.886 million,
Yeah, but that's their number. They don't know what we know.
right,
That algorithm doesn't know that we added square feet
right,
because it doesn't show up on title.
no, okay.
And we want to know what's the price per square foot for this home now, all shiny, nice and clean and updated. And then go see it. And I'm going to tell you guys, track this one and go see it when we put it on the market for lease.
Yeah.
You should, because now you'll know, okay, what can we get for a renovated home, price per square foot, right? For a 2,100 square foot renovation, effectively new construction in Venice, what should you expect to pay for rent? And then use that with your buyers when you're walking around anywhere else in LA. Okay, so.
Can I ask one more question? Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
What are you guys thinking of putting it out for lease?
9,500
Okay,
is what we're gonna shoot for.
okay.
Okay, you tell me if you think that's crazy or not. Might be.
I'll go over.
So,
Thank you.
yep, get into LADBS, right? This is an additional resource that you guys should use that many agents do not, and it is public record. And then you should also be using Zemus,
More about land.
which is more about land and zoning and codes and rules. So if you get there and you're walking with your buyers and you're walking around and you don't know what R3 means and you don't know what R4 means, that's another thing that you didn't know that you should know, but you have to make it your business to know everything that you can. Go ahead.
I'm trying to look up property now. I'm working for, and I cannot find it through this
Through Zemus?
LADBS. I put only number,
Yeah.
street number.
Is it in
name.
LA City?
It's West Hollywood. Okay.
Just
What-
it was my own.
Zip code? Should I put it
So
in-
are you talking about in Zemus? Are you in
No,
Zemus?
LADBS.
Okay, that's only for LA City.
There is no such kind of resource. Okay.
No.
And the other question about all this work. Are you telling this story from the perspective of a potential buyer? Why I have to look up all this supply? The buyer, in my point of view, they are buying as is. Nobody would pay for tile if it's a ridiculous tile. with shitty appliances, I mean.
You're purchasing it the way it is, right?
yeah. So,
But how do you know if you should instruct the client to buy a home for $1,750,000 with shitty stuff? Or if they should pay $2,050,000 with nice stuff?
it depends on the buyer, because some people want to play with this and they create a story like, I would buy and I will win.
Yeah,
Other people, I want to buy like this and I don't want all this headache with Mexican people and all these appliances.
some people might say that, yeah.
Yeah,
But I think if you take the time to learn this, right? Then you might not need it with these buyers. You might have a buyer that's like, I'll buy it brand new, right? And you might have a seller that's asking you to sell something with bad stuff in there, right? When you're sitting in the open house and someone walks in and they say, oh, I need it all new. That's an opportunity for you to say, well, this is 1,800 square feet, right? I understand that you think that, but it's not a lot of work, right? The permits that you need to pull, there's no electrical to do. We're not moving any walls, right? If you want new shiny vinyl floors, it's only gonna cost you 20 grand. And if you want new appliances, it's only gonna cost you 15. So
Some
for
People
30,
want their own personal touches. People want to buy and say, oh, I want to rip this out and do this and put in my own or our own personal touches.
some do, some don't. Some people just
Right.
do it exactly the way it is. And so
Turnkey.
your question was, is this worth doing when most of the people that you worked with so far have been one or the other? Or they just don't want to deal with anything that's not,
I just got this situation, I found the apartment in Beverly Hills and it's like, it's perfect.
yeah,
It's really old and you have to change a lot of things, but it's low price and it's nice zip code. Russian buyers addicted to this
Okay.
zip code in Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
They somehow decided that this is more valuable than other zip codes.
why do they think that?
I think because of TV show, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's
It
okay.
sounds funny,
Yeah, that's not funny.
but
There's lots of
years
people.
ago, this show, 90,
90210.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a very common thing for people from other countries and even other parts of the United States. Feel like there's additional value being in 90210.
yeah. And I tried to explain, but then, like one of my mentor told me, don't try to explain, listen. You have to listen what your buyer wants. And I can see that he wants this zip code. Okay,
Yeah.
I got it. And I tried to explain that there is not so much work and if you put 18,000, it's going to be perfect with the charming details from the past and with the new carpet and new ceilings instead of this cheap popcorn.
Yeah,
But he freaked out and
he didn't care,
yeah,
wasn't interested.
he did because he wants to buy it with a good price, but a perfect condition and just rent it out. And I don't want to deal with it.
Very common. So-
So at this point, my question is,
Yes,
where I can learn this stuff if I do not have friends developer or I'm not working with the flippers?
the internet.
Oh,
That's it. And that's a good question.
you gave
But
me
what-
Zimas and LADBS. Give me a few sites, please, because internet is
The best thing that I would suggest that you do is to build a relationship with some of those vendors that will do that. So if you call a general contractor and say, hey, I need a real fast quote, right? I'm gonna email you this property my client's looking at. Can you just like, over the phone real fast, give me 2 minutes and explain how much it's gonna cost and how long this is gonna take? I promise it'll be worth your time.
yeah. So University of Life. Okay.
University of Life, that's it. So, to summarize, right, like, and you're right, many of your clients, the renovation story might not work, right? But when they say, what do you think, or they counter you with something, right? If he says this is too expensive, right, it's not worth that, right? How much how many stories do you have that you can tell him is one thing, right? But then the other thing is which story specifically do you select that's gonna help him understand that the price you're asking him to pay is not too high, that that's actually what it's worth.
And you also mentioned like another class ago that it doesn't have to be your story.
It doesn't,
Like you can regurgitate what he's saying or like somebody else's story, which still gives you like credibility, or at least it sounds like it.
Yeah, that's why it's so cool to work. with people.
that's one of the benefits of being in a large office.
Yeah.
It's the primary benefit for like being on a team or having a good mentor is that by being close to their deals and their experiences, if you're diligent about it, you can make those your deals and experiences that should hopefully help you win business.
Lost you again.
You're so quick on it.
That's it. So why this is like final thoughts, or to wrap this all up, is that we covered a lot of stuff in Ignite. And at every interaction, I've been trying to say, learn the stories, develop the case studies, right? Because if you spend the time doing your research and educating yourself on everything from start to finish, at some point in your career, you're gonna be able to go back and draw on that information, and it might make the difference for you. You know, it might be the reason that the client decides, okay, let's submit the offer, instead of them saying, oh, we're just gonna wait. You know, and then now the client that was this close to writing an offer last year, that's in an apartment in Santa Monica, that was ready to buy a place, maybe they get relocated. And now they gotta move to San Francisco. And you lost that deal, you lost that client, right? When it might have been this little bit of information that you could have said, hey, look, you know, it's a really busy market, they've got 10 offers, and I think if we can just change your mindset a little bit, you can just frame it up a little bit differently, they might have bought that home, and now when they go to San Francisco, you have an opportunity to sell it. So now you missed out on potentially the buy side commission, the sell side commission, and maybe the buy side commission for someone else. And that second buyer for the home might be selling their home. They might be at your open house because they're moving into the neighborhood, or they're upgrading. And that person might need you to sell their property. Or you might tell them, don't sell your property if you can afford it. You should hold on to it as a rental. Right? And now we can start to develop your investment portfolio. Right? So like you have to treat every little teeny interaction with every single little person as an opportunity for you to further your relationship with them, right? And to build more trust. Because someday you'll get down the line and you'll have 10 people that know and like and trust you and will use you for all of their real estate. And your job is to turn those 10 people into people that will give you people. And then the people that they'll give people to. Does that make sense? Yeah. So you guys might not know everything about real estate right now, but make it your business to know everything about real estate as fast as you can. And the challenge you'll come up against is, how do I do all of that and prospect and go to networking events and reach out to my sphere and or do my job, whatever, right? It's that if this was easy, everybody would do it. And real estate agents are a dime a dozen in Los Angeles. And if you don't separate yourself and do it quickly, when the market goes down, you're going to stop doing deals. Questions? Okay, that's it. Ignite. Over. Done?
What?
Questions?
Any questions?
When do you start again, John?
That's a good question.
TBD.
Oh, come on. I still have like 15 more to do with you.
Well, you got to watch the videos then.
Okay, not the,
Here's our-
not the same.
Yeah, okay, we'll see. Okay.
All right,
Okay, thank you.
thank you so much.
Okay. Done.
It was the last
Thanks,
lesson
John.
Last one was today.
of today.
Yeah, but are all the videos online?
but two, they got removed, but
Okay.
yeah, they're all.
Because I use bad language?
Yeah,
I think so.
yeah,
I think that was
But
it.
they're online or not?
yeah, they're on the.
Those are probably the best
one. They're all there.
Last person for this year or